Okay. Well, thank you all for making time again to be on the call. Lots of updates for you today. I want to jump in on things we've been talking about the last couple days. And number one, I think, is coming into at least our focus as being a primary tool to work with is the Paycheck Protection Program. We've talked about it the last few days, but I want to reiterate the importance of this to everybody. If you have not yet looked at it, I would definitely encourage you to do so. The quick recap on what it is: it was part of the stimulus package. It is a program that's being administered through the Small Business Administration. It is a loan that can be forgiven and essentially turned into a grant if the monies are used for payroll, but also includes other expenses like utilities and rent or mortgage obligations. So it's a way, I think, to get a significant amount of capital in the hands of small business, but also not create a long-term debt burden. The application window opens up tomorrow. I've received notice from a couple of people that some of the guidelines are still yet being finalized. So hopefully that gets completed today so companies can apply by tomorrow. There was an article that came out last night. Some of you might have saw it. I shared it on my social media. There is genuine concern now because it's such a good program and because it's nationwide that they may run out of money. $350 billion, and they may run out of money. But you got to remember that any company and nonprofit under 500 employees is eligible, and the grant portion that can be forgiven is 8 weeks of payroll and rent and utilities and whatnot. So that can add up very, very quickly. So I'm going to keep pushing this because I want to make sure Shiawassee County businesses and nonprofit get their stuff in and can take advantage of this program if at all possible. As I've mentioned before as well, the first thing you need to do if you've not done it already is call your lender. If you don't have loans, call your bank or your credit union where you have deposits and go there first. That is your best avenue to do this because these dollars have to be applied in conjunction with your lending institution. If you don't have one, and I mentioned this as well, please let us know. I've made about 10 or 12 referrals. Not a lot. Most people do have a lender or a bank, but I'm happy to make those referrals. And, I want to give a shout out to any of the lenders on the phone. I know this is going to be a pretty crazy time for you, maybe the craziest time you've ever had in your professional careers because you're being inundated with applications. So please know if there's any lenders on the call, we want to be able to help if we can in any way. So thank you for all that you do. I will say one of the barriers, because I think a lot of lenders are going to get flooded, I have talked to a few that are not going to be taking any applications from anybody other than current customers. So that could become another barrier, though I do know some lenders are open to taking new customers as well. So once again, if anybody needs lenders, please let us know. We have a Rolodex on that. I do want to have an additional conversation here, or at least let you know. One of the barriers, this came up yesterday in the call, one of the barriers to this program could be the unemployment system. And this was a robust talk yesterday about the fact that the unemployment benefits are going to become so significant. In Michigan, you'll be able to get a maximum of $962 a week, that it may be hard to get employees to come back on this program, the Paycheck Protection Program, because you have to rehire. If they've laid off, you have to rehire those people in order to realize the benefits of that program. And so had several conversations after our call yesterday with local businesses about, I want to do the program. How do I do it? I mean, how do I get people to come back. Now, hopefully, good quality, solid companies that have a good, loyal workforce, long-term workforce, they won't have a problem. But the money benefits are so good that it could be an issue. So one idea I wanted to share that I thought was good, and I don't know if he wants me to give him credit or not, so I won't say it publicly, but I want to give a shout-out to a small manufacturer in the area that I thought had a great idea in terms of trying to incentivize employees, possibly through a bonus system, to do that. And so that might be a possibility. And what's interesting, and I got to get into the details a little bit more of this program, but the amount you can get this forgivable loan grant, it's not just wages. It looks like additional types of compensation could be included in there. So one of the things I'm curious that I want to explore, and maybe some of the lenders can address this, is whether or not companies might be able to offer, some type of a, one-time upfront bonus for returning to the payroll for this program, and then that could be part of the money that is borrowed through the SBA and forgiven. So that's something I just wanted to throw that idea out there. I thought it was a great idea, and it might be a really good thing to consider as you're trying to get people back on staff. So along with that, though, the other issue that I heard from several companies yesterday was what happens with people about their unemployment if they quit. So there are companies that have legitimately had to lay people off and put their people on the unemployment system because sales have dried up, business has dried up. But there are businesses that have not shut down but are worried that some employees might say, wow, that's great money. I'm just going to quit and go get unemployment. Our understanding at this moment, and unfortunately our HR expert on our team, Jody Rathel, is on something else right now. She can't participate on the call, but she believes, and I think Brent and I do too, that employers still have the ability to deny fraudulent claims. So it's not like anyone can just show up on the unemployment system and claim, hey, I'm unemployed. That people still have to prove that they were laid off. So that would at least hopefully eliminate the concern that people will quit from existing jobs and go to the unemployment system. So I did want to at least throw that out for consideration as a possibility. But, I think the bottom line here, everybody, is, if you're going for this program, obviously, hopefully, knock on wood, hopefully every one of your employees are going to be supportive and they'll be grateful and they'll come back on the system. But if not, think about maybe some creative ways you might be able to bring them back. So we can talk more about that in the comments section here. I do want to also bring up again the SBA disaster loan program. I know that's not getting as much attention now because it is a loan. It's not a grant, though they are offering the ability to front $10,000 very quickly into your checking account. And it could turn into a grant, that $10,000, if they don't approve the loan. But I talked to another company yesterday, and they have some expenses, I'll just say, that don't fit payroll, rent, utilities. So there are a lot of other things that businesses are losing out on, they have to pay bills on, that cannot be covered under this Paycheck protection program that you could potentially get under the disaster loan program. So my understanding is those two programs can both work in conjunction. They just can't be used. The proceeds cannot be used for the same thing. So I would not, if you have expenses, if you have economic concerns other than payroll, rent, utilities, keep taking a look at that program because I think that's still a possibility. A new money program came online later yesterday, which I'm very excited about. It's a very narrow program, but I think is got great potential to help, certainly statewide, but maybe a handful of companies here in Shiawassee County in terms of trying to retool their business to be able to produce products to serve the medical industry. And I'd like to call on my friend Tyler DeBrabander again from Michigan Economic Development Corporation. They are the ones that are instituting this. Tyler, can you talk about this?
Yeah, the Retooling Grants, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so we've got, this was all put together very quickly, so I think we'll be evaluating applications and kind of going from there. But essentially, $1 million has been allocated statewide to this grant program, and it will go to companies in increments of $10,000 to $150,000 to purchase equipment, have to increase capacity for production of needed medical items right now. I think the key here is a quick turnaround time, quick production time from the investment that's needed to be made. So that's probably the biggest criteria. It actually states in here the ability to begin manufacturing the product within 30 days of the award is a criteria here. But I can pass along kind of the list of immediate needs that are being evaluated for production. And if anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're trying to get this money out fast and hopefully help out our shortage at the same time.
So, Tyler, I got your list here in front of me. I'm just going to read it off, and if I miss anything, let me know. The categories of critical needs: eyewear, face shields, gloves, gowns, hand sanitizer, hospital beds, N95 masks, no-touch thermometers, surgical masks, testing supplies, ventilators, and wipes. Is that the list?
Yep. And I don't know if it's entirely limited to that. I think those are the immediate needs. But if anybody thinks they're close to production or production at a greater scale, let me know. I can run the capabilities by our team and see how that might stack up.
And I mentioned this pretty much every day on the call. Tyler, I've got a number of local companies that want to be involved but don't know what to do. They might be able to do a piece or part of something. So they may not be, they may be a candidate for this grant. But can you talk once again about this Business Connect and how maybe some of these companies can learn about partnership opportunities?
Yeah. Pure Michigan Business Connect on its own really works in many sectors, manufacturing, food, ag, but they have set up a COVID-19 response specific matchmaking service to connect Michigan businesses with production capabilities to Michigan businesses with needs, and in this case, specifically healthcare providers, nursing homes, things like that. So it's really a quick way to enter your information if you have production capabilities in any of these related spaces. And then you will be searchable by the purchasers when they run a list of companies that can produce hand sanitizer, masks, et cetera, et cetera. So would really advocate everyone to get on there. And then kind of to go a little further on what I think Justin was alluding to, if you're not entirely sure, or maybe you just have a piece of a component, we can plug you in and help figure that all out. But this grant is really, I think, targeted toward companies that are almost there, need the extra few pieces of machinery or just the extra little push to get to production scale. But this money is really being allocated toward immediate needs and very near-term solutions.
Yes, yeah, and that's and you guys have heard about obviously Woodard, Crest Marine went public yesterday. They are doing some work right now with their sewing team over there. So it's a beautiful thing to see our companies do this. And I was talking with someone messaging earlier, and actually someone last night too. This is a personal viewpoint. What I'm going to share with you. MEDC is starting to use this term arsenal of health, like we were arsenal democracy. You guys have heard me bring this up on a call recently. I think this is, once again, personal view. I think this hopefully will lead to bringing more manufacturing back to America, this whole thing. And if we can build on this start of Michigan companies getting into medical, I would love to see our state become the top state in America for production of this type of product. I mean, we are setting an incredible foundation right now with all these companies getting into this, and I'm hoping that it stays. And this is one of those things where, with the arsenal of democracy back in the 40s, I mean, we did an incredible job making, bombs and tanks and all that, but the war ended, and some of that went away. We went back to cars. The health needs are never going to end. We know that. Yes, it's acute right now, but the healthcare industry is only going to continue to grow. And so if we can, as a state, make more of this stuff to serve the healthcare community, I think it's going to position Michigan long-term to be a very, very strong economy and put us in a great strategic location. So I'm really hoping that this will be a base of growth for the healthcare manufacturing sector going forward. So that's just a little bit of a personal take on that, but I'm really hopeful. We've got the energy behind it right now. I hope to see that going as we get through this crisis. We are having a call today so thank you, Tyler. We are having a call today at 10 a.m. With the I-69 Thumb Region partners to finalize activities related to the grant program that we've been talking about. So I would anticipate at some point today, everybody's going to get some communication on that. No one has been notified of anything yet, recipients, non-recipients, any of that, but that will be occurring today. So you should be receiving information, email, social media, things like that. And I do want to thank again Tyler and Michigan Economic Development Corporation for stepping up and providing those resources. But I wanted to let you know that should be coming today. There is still the question of the MEDC loans out there. We're trying to get some direction on where to head with that. There were a lot of requests for loans too. Unfortunately, as you might imagine, just like the grants, there's not enough money to go around. So we've got to figure out what we're going to do to be able to disseminate those dollars. So, but the grant program should be announced yet today. So stay tuned for that. One new thing I want to mention, I don't know if it's been mentioned on the call yet, but, for those that are on my email list, and hopefully you all are, if you're not, please let me know. But, I'm sending out programmatic information frequently, daily, many times a day, sort of in a, here's a program. But I do want to give some credit to our friends at the Shiawassee Regional Chamber of Commerce. They have actually built a page on their website that sort of assembles a lot of this information together. And if you take a look at the invitation for the call, which I sent out last night, and I send out every day, I'm now including the link to that page on there. So I know many of you like to get the emails the way you're getting them, and I'm going to keep doing that. But if you want to sort of take a look at a list of all the stuff that's out there in one location, the Chamber has done a very good job of that. So you get to that list by going to the invitation to the call I sent you last night. Go on there. There's a link at the bottom of the email. So keep that in mind. Bookmark that if you ever want to go back to reviewing a list of all the different tools and programs. And then the two other things I want to mention, I do it every day. Our friends at Memorial, always in need of this personal protective equipment. Many of the things that I listed out earlier that MEDC is looking for partners on to supply. So if you know of anybody or if you have access to that equipment and are able to donate it, they would very much appreciate it. And then the last thing on jobs, I talked about this as well. Still have some companies out there operating, needing people. If anybody needs folks, please let us know, and we would be happy to try to promote that because there are people that are looking for work right now. So with that, that is my list this morning. I will open the floor up to any comments or questions.
Good morning, Justin.
Morning.
Bob Rogers here.
Hey, Bob.
Along that last thing you mentioned, we're looking for a plant mechanic. If anybody knows anybody out there looking.
Thanks, Bob. I tried to send a few people your way. Did you get some response?
We have, and I've been kind of lax on the follow-up, but that's one of my, after we get past all these April 3rd deadlines, that's my next project.
Okay.
So thanks again for all your help. Appreciate what you're doing.
Thanks, Bob.
Hey, Justin.
Yeah,
I got
Colleen.
some information. I just found out today about tax returns. And this is for self-employed people. Everybody knows now that our deadline is July 15th for filing returns. Also, July 15th is first quarter tax payment due. That also got delayed. But to keep in mind that, according to my CPA, the second quarter tax payments are still due June 15th.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you.
Yep.
Other comments, questions?
Hey, Justin.
Yeah.
It's Lori from Trimer.
Hey, Lori. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good.
Hey, I have a question about the unemployment. If
Mm-hmm.
an employee quits, so the governor's supposed to make an announcement today about schools and if they're going to reopen or be closed for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
If they're closed for the rest of the year and that leads to like childcare being closed for an extended period of time, so you have an employee who quits because they can't find childcare for the rest of the year, would they still be qualified for unemployment? Do you know?
That's a good question. I don't know if I'm curious if we have any friends from the RESD on the call, because I know RESD is coordinating some activities in childcare as it relates to schools and all that. Anybody from RESD on the call that can comment on that?
Justin, I'm on the call. It's Lena. But
hey, Lena.
I don't have anything yet about childcare, but I would believe they would qualify for the FMLA program because leave for childcare is covered under FMLA.
Okay, thank you.
Also, this is Nancy Shinonis from Klein & Griffin. Under Executive Order 2020-24, childcare is one of the list of reasons within that order that will qualify someone for the receipt of unemployment benefits if they're unable to work due to being immunocompromised, sick, or needing to care for a child who does not have childcare or school.
Okay, so they should qualify for the extended FMLA or the unemployment.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Justin, this is Jose. We'll be happy to supply you with a memo on that issue because that is the case. I ran into that same question yesterday. So we'll be happy to send you something
please,
to help. Okay.
Please do. Yeah, if you would, then I can just forward that onto the group.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah, this is and I mentioned this earlier, and I won't belabor it again, but this is this dynamic I think that's going to play out of so many companies are going to go after this funding to keep or rehire people they've laid off, but then because of the cash amount benefit, the child care issue, a lot of other issues. There's going to be people that don't want to come back or can't come back. So how that all plays out over the next probably week or 2 weeks is going to be it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's a company by company basis and probably an individual by individual basis. The good news is my reading, and once again, I know there's some attorneys on the line, but my reading of the CARES Act is companies have to make an effort to hire everybody back or bring everybody back, but it doesn't require that you bring everybody back. I've had that question a lot, like, well, what if we can't get everybody back? That doesn't disqualify you from getting money. It does shrink your ability to get money, but it doesn't disqualify you. So that interplay is going to be the big thing to watch over the next week or two. So that's why I encourage companies, if there's any, if you don't have childcare, you're kind of stuck because you have to be there for the kids. But, are there any creative ways to encourage people to come back from unemployment, like a bonus or something? So I just said that to try to get everybody's wheels turning, like how can we get creative to make sure we're successful? So anyway, sorry. Go ahead. Anybody else with questions or comments?
Justin, this is Rich.
Doherty. Hey, Rich.
The MEDC loan.
Yes.
It was my understanding that was going to be available beyond the 31st for the application. And I received a Team Shiawassee response indicating that it ended on the 31st for the application.
Yeah, what we did with that, Rich, we tried to pair the grant up with the loan because it was the same application. So, technically speaking, just to be brutally honest, technically speaking, yes. I mean, loan apps could be taken after. I think what's probably going to happen, I mean, we're still trying to get some guidance on this. And I don't know if Tyler DeBrabander wants to make any comments, but we're still trying to get some guidance on, how we're going to do that, because we were taking apps and then we were basically going to send those apps to MEDC because MEDC maintained loan authority. But it might be the situation where they're going to come back and look at us to make a recommendation. The problem is, and I mentioned this earlier, there are so many applicants and so little money. I mean, most of the grants were small grants. The loans were $50,000 to $200,000. I don't know how many we're even going to be able to do. I mean, when I say how many, I mean, we may not be able to do more than maybe one or two. And we had much more demand than that. So anyway, I know, Tyler, do you have any updates on the loan program?
Not really. I think, what you're saying is definitely valid, that there's really only one or two in there. And I think it just makes the new loan programs for the SBA more critical. Yes, we're asking EDOs to, I don't know if completely evaluate is the right word, but, recommend options for us to evaluate. But, yeah, I mean, I think you've got all the information I have, and I think just being realistic about the amount that's in there is a good point.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions from the group?
Hey, Justin, it's Kevin again.
Cool.
I hate to sound like a broken record, but is there anything on the self-employment? I was on there this morning, and they had a new banner that said if you've already applied for unemployment, you don't need to reapply. How do they know that you're a self-employed? There's nothing to indicate that.
Jody's not on the call. She's our HR expert, but I think, I'm trying to remember, Brent, I don't know if you remember what you said yesterday. I think it's coming. I don't think it's active yet. I know we have some labor attorney folks too. Anybody have any updates on that? I know it is allowed, but It just may not be ready yet as far as signing up online. Anybody have anything to add?
Yeah, Nancy Shinonis on that. Right now, the Unemployment Insurance Agency is asking that if you are a self-employed or contract worker, that you do not apply for unemployment benefits yet. I anticipate that if you've already submitted a claim for benefits, when they go to evaluate and they see that you're not someone who's paid into the unemployment tax, then you're going to get something called a request for additional information, and you'll have to provide that information at that time. However, I would advise if you have not applied, do not apply and wait until the proper form. It will make things probably go much smoother for people who apply to the correct form.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. Other comments or questions?
Hey, Justin, Mike Gillette from Beechcraft. I'm looking for clarification on that, the previous question on the MEDC loan.
Yeah.
That's the one, the 0.025%. So
Yeah.
Are you saying that we need to be looking elsewhere to the SBA disaster loan instead of the MEDC loan, which was, I don't know, it seemed like it was a lot of money that was in there. I wasn't looking for the grant. I was looking for the loan portion.
Right. Yeah, just to reiterate, so here, the issue, Mike, is this. It's still feasible for the MEDC loan. The challenge is the state, and Tyler, you guys have done yeoman's work in trying to get some resources, and you got a new one coming out here with this grant. But the challenge is the statewide pot of money for loans was the same as the grants, $10 million. The issue is the loans are much higher in request value. So the grants were all $10,000 or below. The loans $50,000 to $200,000. And so the amount of requests, both in Shiawassee County and throughout the region and the state, are so immense that I guess what I'm trying to say is the number of people that are going to get funded out of loans is going to be much, much smaller than the number of people that get funded out of grants. And basically what I'm hearing, and Tyler, once again, jump in, it sounds like they're going to allocate roughly the same amount of money per region as they are for grants as they are for loans. So our region got $850,000. And based on some different calculations, we got, almost $100,000 in grants. So our region, I-69 Thumb region, Shiawassee, Genesee, Lapeer, St. Clair, all that. Okay. So if we get $850,000 roughly in loan money for 7 counties, then basically we're getting $1 to $100,000, maybe a little more per county. And based on the loan requests, many of them were in that range. There were a few at $50,000, but there were some as high as $200,000. That basically gives us the ability to probably have 1 loan per county. So maybe 2. So I don't remember the exact number for Shiawassee County, but it's much, much higher. So it's still active. It's still live. And I think we will get a chance to have at least 1 or 2 companies in Shiawassee to get it, but the likelihood is very tough given those parameters. So that is why it's still a possibility, but definitely encourage looking at those other SBA programs, Paycheck Protection, as well as the disaster loan to pursue. So that's a long answer to a short question, but hopefully that helped.
I did. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Other questions, comments? Anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah, go. Did I hear a question? Nope. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining. As always, have a good day. We will talk to you tomorrow. Thanks.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks, Justin.